Okay, when you think of the US Constitution, what comes to mind? Probably, a dusty old document under glass, right? But what if I told you it's actually one of the most radical and, frankly, influential design plans ever created? It's literally a blueprint for a nation.
I mean, look at this thing. It was written over 230 years ago, and it is still the basic operating manual for the United States. It lays out the whole framework, how the government works, its relationship with the people, everything. I mean, from who gets to be president all the way down to your most basic rights, it's all outlined right here.
And it all kicks off with just 3 words, but man, are they revolutionary. We the people. This single phrase just flips the whole idea of government on its head. Right from the get-go, it makes one thing crystal clear. Power doesn't come from a king, it doesn't come from a dictator. Nope, it comes from us, the citizens.
So, before the framers even started, building the nuts and bolts of the government, they laid out their goals. Think of it like a mission statement for a huge project. They asked, what is this new government actually for? And they put all of that into this powerful opening paragraph we call the preamble.
Now, the preamble's pretty short, but wow, is it packed with purpose. See, every single goal in there was a direct response to something that had just gone wrong. They wanted to form a more perfect union because, well, their first try, the Articles of Confederation, was a disaster. It left the states divided and super weak. They needed to establish justice because there was no national court system at all, ensure domestic tranquility. That was a direct reaction to uprisings like Shays' Rebellion. And yeah, providing for defense, promoting well-being, and securing liberty, it was all about creating a strong, stable nation that wouldn't just collapse back into the tyranny they just fought a war to escape.
All right, so with the mission statement locked in, how did the architects actually go about building this thing? Well, they started with a really big idea. Take all the power of the federal government and slice it into 3 separate, totally co-equal parts.
Yep, you're going to want to remember this number, 3. It's kind of the magic number for the entire U.S. federal government. This whole idea, this separation of powers, it's the absolute core of the design. And it was all done to prevent any one person or any one group from getting way too much control.
Okay, first up, we've got the legislative branch. You know it as Congress, and it's split into 2 houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Their main jobs sound simple, but trust me, it's incredibly complex. They're the ones who make the nation's laws.
Then there's the executive branch, and the big boss there is, of course, the president. So if Congress makes the laws, it's the executive branch's job to actually carry them out, to enforce them. And that's a huge job, covering everything from foreign policy to managing the gigantic machinery of the federal government.
And finally, rounding out our trio, we have the judicial branch, with the Supreme Court right at the top. So what do? Their role is to interpret the laws. You can think of them as the referees. They look at the laws and make sure they're constitutional, that they actually line up with the rules laid out in this original blueprint.
Now, the founders were brilliant, no doubt, but they were also, well, kind of paranoid, and for good reason. They were deeply afraid of any one branch getting too powerful, so they built in this amazing series of safety features that we now call checks and balances.
Here's a classic example of how this whole thing works. Let's say Congress passes a bill. The president, over in the executive branch, can just say nope and veto it. But wait, it doesn't end there. Congress can actually push back. They can override that veto with what's called a supermajority vote. We're talking a 2/3 vote, which is a much higher bar to clear than just a simple majority. It creates this constant push and pull.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. The system was designed to create tension. It was designed to force compromise. It makes it really, really hard for any one branch to just run away with all the power. And that, right there, is the ultimate safeguard against tyranny.
But look, the Constitution isn't just a rule book for what the government can do. It's also, and this is huge, about what it can't do. And this is where we get to what I like to call the user agreement, the rights that are guaranteed to every single one of us.
Almost as soon as the Constitution was written, people started demanding a clear, written-down list of their individual liberties. And the result? The first 10 amendments. We know them today as the Bill of Rights. This is the part of the deal that protects your most fundamental freedoms from the government messing with them.
And these include some of the real heavy hitters, stuff you've definitely heard of. The First Amendment? That protects your right to say what you think and worship however you want. The second is the right to bear arms. The fourth protects your privacy from unreasonable searches by the government. The sixth guarantees you a fair trial. See, these aren't just like abstract ideas. They are concrete, real-world protections that can affect your life every single day.
And here's something pretty remarkable. In over 230 years, this entire foundational document has only been changed 27 times. Just 27. Think about that for a second. That kind of stability tells you just how solid the original framework really is. But the fact that it can be amended, well, that shows it was also built to be adaptable.
So that begs the question, right? Why, after more than 2 whole centuries, are we still arguing about what this document actually means? Well, that brings us to our final and maybe the most important point of all.
The Constitution is often called a living document. And what does that mean? It means the framers, there's no way they could have imagined the internet, right? Or modern medicine or automatic weapons. They used broad, principled language on purpose so that each new generation could interpret and apply its core ideas to challenges they couldn't even dream of. And that flexibility, that's both its greatest strength and, honestly, the source of our biggest, most passionate debates.
And that leaves us with the central question, the one we're all still grappling with. The Constitution is a blueprint, for sure, but it was designed for a world that, in so many ways, doesn't exist anymore. So the question for all of us is this: how should this 230-year-old plan for a nation guide us through the incredible complexities of the 21st century? That's the ongoing work of we the people.